Take a look at your phone for a second. How many unread messages do you have? 5, 20, maybe 100. Now think about this. If something truly terrible happened tonight, how many of those people would you actually call? For millions of young adults, the answer is surprisingly small. We have more followers than any generation before us, more group chats, more notifications, more ways to connect. Yet surveys across multiple countries consistently suggest that many young people report feeling lonely on a regular basis. How is that possible? How can someone spend hours talking to people every day and still go to bed feeling completely alone? Is social media the problem? Are smartphones destroying friendship? Or is something much deeper happening inside the human brain? Because here's the strange part. Your brain doesn't actually care how many followers you have. It doesn't care how many people liked your latest post. It doesn't even care how many contacts are saved in your phone. Instead, it's searching for something much harder to find. Something our ancestors depended on long before phones, long before cities, long before the internet even existed. And understanding that ancient system might completely change the way you think about loneliness forever. Imagine showing your phone to someone who lived just 200 years ago. Thousands of photographs, instant video calls, messages arriving from the other side of the planet in seconds. They'd probably think loneliness had been solved forever. After all, how could anyone feel isolated with technology like this? But reality tells a different story. Today, many people spend more time communicating than ever before. We text, we comment, we react, we send memes, we share videos, we keep streaks alive. Our conversations never really stop. Yet many psychologists describe loneliness as one of the defining emotional challenges of modern life. That sounds contradictory, but only if we confuse connection with closeness. They're not the same thing. You can receive hundreds of notifications without feeling understood. You can spend hours in group chats without feeling emotionally close to anyone. You can even be surrounded by people and still experience profound loneliness, because loneliness isn't measured by how many people are around you. It's measured by something much more personal. How connected you feel to the people who matter. And surprisingly, your brain has its own way of measuring that. Deep inside your brain, there isn't a counter keeping track of followers. There isn't a scoreboard measuring likes. Evolution never needed one. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans survived in relatively small groups. What mattered wasn't popularity, it was belonging. Your ancestors didn't need 5,000 acquaintances. They needed a handful of people they could trust. People who would share food, protect each other, care for children, warn each other about danger. Those relationships weren't simply nice to have. They were often the difference between survival and death. Modern life looks completely different, but your brain still operates using much of the same ancient machinery. It constantly asks questions you never consciously hear. Am I safe? Do I belong here? Are these people likely to support me if something goes wrong? Those questions aren't answered by follower counts. They're answered through trust, shared experiences, eye contact, reliable relationships, moments of genuine vulnerability. That's why someone can have 10,000 online followers and still feel alone. Because your brain isn't counting people. It's evaluating belonging. Imagine you lose your phone tomorrow. Not permanently. Just for 1 week. How many people would actually notice? Now imagine something much more serious. You lose your job. A family member gets sick. Or your relationship suddenly ends. Who shows up? Those two questions reveal something important. Not every relationship serves the same purpose. Psychologists sometimes describe the difference as weak ties and strong ties. Weak ties aren't fake. They're incredibly valuable. They're classmates, co-workers, neighbors, people you chat with online, the friend who always sends funny memes, the person who likes every photo you post. These connections make life richer. They introduce new ideas, new opportunities, new experiences. But strong ties are different. They're the people you don't have to impress. The people you can call at 2 a.m. The people who know your worst moments. And stay anyway. Your brain treats these relationships very differently. Because strong relationships reduce uncertainty. They tell your nervous system, you don't have to face everything alone. That's why one honest conversation with someone who truly understands you can sometimes feel more meaningful than 1,000 online interactions. Here's where loneliness becomes especially difficult. Because loneliness doesn't always make people reach out. Sometimes it makes them pull away. Imagine you've been feeling disconnected for weeks. You start wondering if people really want to hear from you. You hesitate before sending a message. You decide, I'll text them tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Without realizing it, you've become even more isolated. Psychologists sometimes describe this as a feedback loop. Feeling lonely changes the way we interpret social situations. A delayed reply suddenly feels personal. A cancelled plan feels like rejection. Silence feels louder than it really is. The brain becomes more alert to possible signs of exclusion. From an evolutionary perspective, that response makes sense. Thousands of years ago, being separated from your group could be dangerous. Your brain evolved to notice social threats quickly. The problem is, modern life produces many situations that look like rejection. Even when they aren't, someone forgets to reply. They're busy. They're studying. They're asleep. They're dealing with problems of their own. But a lonely brain often fills in the missing information with the worst possible explanation. They don't want me around. And that belief quietly pushes people even farther apart. Not because they don't want connection, but because they're afraid of losing it. If your brain isn't counting followers, then what is it actually searching for? The answer may be surprisingly simple. Safety. Not physical safety. Social safety. The feeling that you can be yourself without constantly performing, without carefully choosing every word, without worrying that one mistake will make people disappear. Think about the last time you laughed so hard you couldn't breathe, or admitted something embarrassing, or sat quietly with someone without feeling the need to fill every second with conversation. Those moments create something your brain values deeply. Belonging. Belonging isn't about popularity. It's about acceptance. That's why a small group of genuine friends can completely change how someone experiences loneliness. The number of people hasn't changed, but the quality of connection has, and your brain notices that difference immediately. It always has. Long before social media, long before smartphones, long before humans built the modern world, our nervous systems evolved to search for places where we felt safe enough to simply be human. So, why do we feel lonely, even with hundreds of friends? Maybe because your brain isn't asking, how many people know me? It's asking, who truly knows me? Technology has changed almost everything about the way we communicate, but it hasn't changed the ancient brain we carry inside our heads. A brain that still searches for trust, belonging, understanding, and genuine connection. So the next time loneliness quietly appears, don't immediately assume something is wrong with you. It may simply be your brain reminding you that meaningful connection has never been about numbers. It's always been about feeling safe enough to stop pretending. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt lonely, even while surrounded by people? Share your thoughts in the comments. Someone reading your story might realize they're not as alone as they thought. And if you enjoy exploring the surprising science behind everyday human experiences, don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you in the next journey into the remarkable human mind.